good evening and welcome to the Portugal Business Club in association with Spartan FX. If you want to get your currency exchanged, why not open a free account with Spartan FX at spartanfx.co.uk or send them an email, gmp@spartanfx.co.uk. Let's bring onto the screen my fellow broadcaster, my co-host this evening. I don't think that's for me, is it? Hi, old sailor. No, we'll come back to that in just a moment. A young sailor, perhaps. Vitor Costa. Let's give him a nice big round of applause. Good evening. How are you, Vitor?
Hello. I'm good. How are you? Oh, good timing.
You're in big demand this evening. That's great. Yeah, I'm very well. What a day it's been. I think there's a disturbance in the force, quite frankly. My dog's going crazy outside. I've been having quite a lot of interesting conversations with people today. We are, of course, in the Portugal Business Club tonight, and I will be remiss of us not to talk about Silicon Valley Bank, Bitcoin rising significantly today, and global uncertainty. So that's why I'm asking the question, is Portugal a good bet amid growing global uncertainty? Because there are a few domestic factors which have shaken confidence in the country with the golden visa decision and some government policy decisions that are being worked through at the moment. That's with the external focus onto Portugal and maybe shaking confidence a little bit. But let's talk as people who live here and tell people how lovely the water is, because it's always a balance, isn't it? It's nowhere is perfect in the world, but some are certainly better than others. So let's look at that. After I've had a really good moan about Portugal, great place to live, but a horrible place to run a business. So a real mixture of good news and bad news, and people can make their own decisions as to whether this is a good place to come. Before I start moaning, tell me how you are. Tell me what you think of this Silicon Valley Bank business and the price of Bitcoin. And are they related, that rise in Bitcoin today?
That's confidential. Anyway, I'm kidding. The funny thing is that this introduction, and mind you guys, I didn't know we were going to talk about this specifically, but it almost feels like the perfect plug for a newsletter that I subscribed recently. I'll send it to your private chat if you want to share it with the people. It's basically called Market Briefs. It's made by a guy called Jasprit Singh. He's also the founder of Minority Mindset. You can look him up on YouTube. He's really big into financial education. He makes videos teaching people about what's going on. And I've been reading a lot of his newsletters recently. Have been about the Silicon Valley Bank and its bankruptcy, how it happened. So yeah, I definitely recommend you joining the newsletter. I think supposedly if like 10 people were to subscribe with my link, I would get some briefs. Market briefs.
Not underpants.
No, the briefs, yes.
Official if you need new
underpants. But I think they don't ship outside the US anyway, so whatever. It's a great read. Check it out. I recommend it. So yeah, from what I've been seeing, it seems like that the Silicon Valley Bank, they were basically, buying bonds on US Treasury bonds or whatever. But then after a while, people started wanting to withdraw their money. So they were forced to sell at a loss. And then it just quickly spiraled out of control. The government shut it down. And now, I don't know what's going to happen. There will be chaos somewhere for sure. And I do feel like Bitcoin going up probably had to do with it. Because, okay, the banks are screwing it up again. Maybe let's go to a decentralized system where nobody can mess it up unless there's like a solar flare or an EMP blast. By that time, humanity will be doomed anyway, so who cares?
This is extraordinary because this sort of talk openly a year ago would have been seen as like dark web, conspiracy theory stuff, and still is by some people. But it's amazing the number of people you speak to who, when you say an EMP blast, they know exactly what you mean. They know what Bitcoin is now, don't they? They know what Silicon Valley Bank is. No one cared about these things, did they, before? But many more people seem to now. It would seem.
That's the thing. Like we most people only realize it when it's kind of too late, and that's one of the reasons why I very much support financial literacy. I know it for some people it can be boring, it can be annoying, and all of these things, and having to take time to read and watch videos and whatever. But I mean, you're here today, so hopefully this isn't boring for you guys.
Yeah.
But it is important, because if we don't pay attention, if we don't, see where the wind is blowing, adjust our sails, and take care of our lives, then nobody else is going to do that for us.
Well said. And only this afternoon, I was watching a documentary, Michael Oswald's film, The Princes of the Yen, the central banks and the transformation of the economy. That's over in Japanese society in Japan. What an extraordinary documentary that is as well. And it certainly reminds me of that phrase, history doesn't repeat itself, but it certainly rhymes. So I'll put a link to that as well. And anybody else who might want to share some resources along these lines, because I think, like you say, we probably need to help each other, because I think the big banking institutions aren't exactly going to be going out of their way to help us as individuals, right?
I do have one recommendation, though. Let me grab the thing.
Yes, grab the thing.
This is the guy responsible for changing my life.
Oh, yes. Yes. Hold on, let me just
talk about him many times. Rich Dad Poor Dad. This is the first audiobook that I read, and ever since I listened to this book, I've been listening books nonstop. And I bought this after I listened to the whole thing when I didn't have money, and then I bought the pocket version of the book as well. And I listened to all of his audiobooks. Many of them are available for free on YouTube. The one that probably fascinated me the most is his latest release. I think it's called Fake.
Oh, really?
Fake. And it's about fake teachers, fake assets, fake money, where it's basically a history lesson of all of the financial insanity that the banks, the government, and all of these things have done throughout the world, how you can kind of, prepare for some of the things. And he also explains how money kind of came into existence, what it means. And also, one thing that is kind of screwing everything financially is this thing called quantitative easing.
I think you put an extra tit in the middle of that, but then why not?
Quantitative easing.
Right, okay. There's Robert Kiyosagi's site. I wanted to call him Richard Kiyosaki for a minute, but Robert Kiyosaki, of course. Meet your own rich dad. How fast can you exit the rat race?
Yep.
He has remained consistently helpful, I think, to people.
Yes. And I don't know if you know this, but he has, I think it's called Rich Kid, Smart Kid. It's actually a curriculum to teach financial literacy to kids all the way from kindergarten to the 12th grade.
Yeah. Well, and his tweet, when was that published? I don't know, but it says 2 major banks have crashed. Number 3 set to go. Credit Suisse, I know, is in trouble, and people who watch the more sort of niche underground blogs and speakers have been talking about Credit Suisse for quite a long time. There's more talk about Credit Suisse struggling, but number 3 in Robert Kiyosagi's estimation set to go after 2 major banks have crashed. Buy real gold and silver coins now, he says. No ETFs. When bank number 3 goes, gold and silver will rocket up. 2008, I forecasted the collapse of Lehman days before it crashed on CNN. If you want proof, go to richdad.com. We're not in any way, we are endorsing him in a way, aren't we? We can both say we found him helpful, and you might too. It's up to you. It's your decision. It's entirely your choice. We're just offering that in good faith as a good resource, as I think people will be doing so this evening as well. Just having a quick cough there. So let's say a few hellos. And listen to that crowd roar as you came onto the screen there, Vitor. You're quite used to that now, I think. The Ancient Mariner is in, although Suze was first. I'm in first, she says.
Great song by Iron Maiden, by the way.
What?
The Rime of Ancient Mariner.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Mariner or Mariner? I don't know.
Mariner, you're absolutely right first time. So two in the afternoon for Suze. So this is a really nice time. Ask your questions. It doesn't have to be about business, because Vitor is incorrigibly helpful. And he will help you with any aspect of moving to Portugal, living in Portugal as best he possibly can, and we'll certainly share it with the rest of the community here. That's our main thing, isn't it? Live from Portugal, as it says on the screen. How can we help you? So the Ancient Mariner was in as well. And hi, old sailor, she says to him. Bem-vindo from Facebook user FU, a rating agency downgraded the entire US banking industry to poor today. Is that true? Can we have a source on that? I don't doubt it, and it makes a lot of sense.
Oh, my favorite one is how the Silicon Valley Bank got picked as Forbes Bank of the Year 3 days before it happened.
That, I mean, you know, I'm sorry to laugh, and I don't mean.
If you see something on Forbes, just maybe go the other way.
But it's two things, isn't it? If you hear the banking staff say calm down as well. I mean, when did anyone ever listen to somebody at a bank saying calm down? It's just not what people in banking need or should say, is it? You know, if you've got to a stage where somebody in a bank says calm down, you know there's a problem. And Forbes, Forbes picking it, but weren't the insiders cashing in their stakes in it days before as well. It depends where you look, of course, and take all of these things with a pinch of salt. I think of it as indicative. It's not too helpful to get too specific with any of these things, but you get a general flavour of what's going on, don't you, by picking and choosing a few news sources. And this one would be another rating agency downgraded the entire US banking industry to poor today. What does that mean for you? Those of you listening who know about banking, what would that mean? Lighthouse Consulting, Raquel, who was here in your chair or alongside us in her chair last week, is here watching and will be on the morning show in the morning with Stephen again. So thank you for propelling Stephen into our community, Vitor. He joins us in the morning one more time. And I think he had a webinar of his own earlier this evening too. I hope that went well for you, Stephen. Ubi is in as well. I'm sure Ubi will have a comment or an opinion or two on what's going on with the banking situation in the United States. So as well as hearts, we've got some nice. Is that a message, do you think, from Raquel? Invest in chickens. Well, certainly invest in love. All you need is love, really. A bit of spending money is nice. Something to eat, a cuddle every now and then, but it all originates out of love, doesn't it? So it's worth remembering that. And invest in chickens as well. There's my link to Princes of... it should be the yen, of course. But, when you're talking about Japan, it's fair enough getting your yen and your zen mixed up, isn't it? Simon's in as well with a good evening. And an extra tit in the middle of that. Best soundbite of all. Well, maybe we should clip that. Thank
Best
you.
bite as well.
Fake fiat currencies and fractional reserve banking. In other words, who is this? They seem to know a thing or two, don't they?
Yeah, it's about the book I mentioned from Robert Kiyosaki.
Okay, so that's not you, is it? You're not posting that up. That's somebody else who agrees with you and is.
No, that's not me. No.
Okay. Quantitative physics was my master's thesis at MIT. Really? Fact check. Gold, can't eat it, and it can't transport. You can't eat it and can't transport it across borders. However, of course, it has its uses, doesn't it? Possibly when you're in a tight spot. The only time, I mean, have you ever found yourself in a tight spot, Vitor, and thought to yourself, this gold sovereign in my shoe is going to help me out of this tight spot?
You mean about physical gold?
Yes.
So
or would you rather not say?
So here's the thing. This is something that I'm always learning. I'm always researching. And in fact, recently I installed a game that it's really interesting. And I didn't expect it to enlighten me so much in some financial concepts. But it's like you start it, and maybe I can even show it. It's like very simple. It's not like a super accurate like company management thing or whatever, but you start with this screen.
Oh yeah.
And you can't really see because it's too light. And basically every time you tap the screen, you earn $1. That's it. And then you can upgrade that with 2,000 and something taps. You can upgrade it to $1.54 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you start. And then you have access to the stock market, you have access to cryptocurrencies, you have access to real estate, you can start a business. But all of that needs like, I don't know, 4,000 or whatever dollars to open. So you need to be there a very long time to even get enough money to get your first company, to get some passive and recurring income, so that then you can start building your wealth like that. And that also made me realize, because now I'm at the point where obviously this is absurd. My portfolio is like almost $4 trillion, and I'm making per hour, let's see, I'm making like $40 billion per hour in passive income, and so
Yep.
I ran out of things to invest in. Because then I
Yes.
realized another problem of having too much money. Okay, I'm going to buy stocks. Oh, I can only buy like I buy a whole company for like 1% of my net worth, so I can't just buy one stock, right?
Yes.
And that made me realize, the difference between the different kinds of assets and how and when you should invest in each, vehicle. And of course, it depends on your strategies. The way I see gold, but gold is essentially a store of value. Like it exists, nobody can create more of it. I guess maybe some people can destroy it, but I don't know why somebody would. So if you buy gold, 1 gram of gold will be 1 gram of gold like in the future. So, but the currency we use, the fiat currency, that is going to be going down and down and down and down in value. I think it got estimated that last year, people who had like $10,000 in their bank accounts.
That's more money coming in.
No, it's like it's my parents. They want to see our daughter. So they it's estimated that people last year, the money that they had lost between 11 to 34% of their value.
Really?
So that's huge. That's
Yes.
a big impact. Like if you
Yes.
buy gold, the gold is still gold. It will be worth more money in the future, not because it's like, I don't know, more within itself, I guess, but because the money will be worth less in the
Yes.
future. It's not really money, it's currency, nuances, and all
A
that.
store of value, isn't it? A store of
Yes,
a recognized and universal store of value. I don't
exactly.
know if it's global. Let's not say universal because I don't. Who knows? Elon Musk may find out if it's a universal store of value in due course, but maybe that'll be unobtainium that is being used across the galaxy.
We'll see. But I mean, that's
Well,
another reason why many people are in favor of cryptocurrency. Not
yes,
all of them, but like
yes, yes,
Bitcoin, for example, because they compare it to digital gold because
yes,
there's that many Bitcoins. It's getting harder and harder to create more. And then, it's a finite resource.
yes.
And that is why it is inherently valuable. And then it can be traded. And then they see all of this nonsense that the government and banks do. And then it gets the added component where, okay, it's a lot harder to mess up with this thing. So that's probably another reason why it's being valued. Now, what Robert, he himself does, and he says it in the books, like he buys gold not to use it or to sell it or whatever, but he just buys it to keep it.
Yeah,
And then I think he has different safes all around the world because he never knows what's going to happen. And if some days the governments decide to start seizing assets or whatever, okay, I know I have gold here. I know I have gold there. I know I have gold there. I know I have gold there. So I'll be fine even if everything tries to shut it down. So my
yeah.
opinion is people who are getting started, the biggest by far return on investment is invest in yourself, invest in your knowledge, invest, in gaining skills. Like Steven, like he invested like 30 to 40K in learning about real estate. That will be worth far more to him in the long run than whatever kind of stock or assets or gold or precious metals or commodities that he could have bought.
Check him out in the morning. He'll be joining us on the morning show. Let's see what other people are saying about this. Thank you for that, Vitor. Legacy banks, as in the banks we've grown up with, pay no interest but lend your money to others at 10 to 15 to 20%. And fractionally, they're lending it out, aren't they? Multiply and give
And they
you
can land
none
it
of
10
it.
times.
10 times, but they're trusted, not crooks at all. I think that FU Facebook user is saying that with a tongue in their cheek. Ancient Mariner says, in pray, this is all before I start moaning about running a business in Portugal, but this is very interesting. So thank you, everybody, for being here and talking about it. In Pracy, downgrading banks implies a crisis of confidence. In a fire, far more people get crushed to death in the stampede for the exits than ever get burnt by the flames. That's poignant, isn't it?
Yep.
And it kind of chimes with what Stephen was saying. If you see people running away from something, run towards it, not fire, obviously. Unless you've got a fire extinguisher and you can become the hero of that situation. Keyword contagion. Yeah, I mean, I did laugh when I saw the reporting when people were urged to stay calm. It doesn't tend to work, does it? They were quite calm as they were queuing up, to be fair. If the banks cannot look after the money responsibly, I'll have a go. If only it were that simple, Darren. Yeah, it, it would be great, wouldn't it? But I think they've sorted it out so that you can't just start up a bank willy-nilly, my friend. CNBC, there's the link
It's
to.
actually one of the highest paying companies in this game. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
there's the link to Moody's downgrading the banking sector, it would appear, in the United States. Yes, you can transport gold across borders, but I mean, that depends on whether you do or don't declare it, which of course you could be paying. There are limits, aren't there, to the amount of gold I think you can move. So you can transport some, and I think Ancient Mariner's calculations here are you could carry 750,000 in checked baggage on a plane. I mean, you'd be very trusting. I mean, is that going in the hold, or are you keeping that with you?
Taking into account how often luggage gets lost, I mean,
I don't know if that is going in the hold or if that's staying under the seat like a sweaty James Bond character with 22 kilograms of gold on their person. I am tingling. Here's a different kind of wealth then. I am tingling with excitement about returning to Portugal. That's why I tune in for the inspiration, watch the miracle unfold as I get there faster than seems possible. That's why I meditate. That sounds like another good investment, doesn't it? We'll talk more about that on the Barefoot broadcast later on this evening, I think, about whether meditation works or not. I don't see gold thus far being much profitable in the short term. Who is this? And the commission's taxes eat up most gains, but I'm 7,000 this week, $7,000 this week. Is that up in your crypto? So
GG.
Facebook user. Maybe they want to remain anonymous. Otherwise, everyone's going to be asking them for a loan or advice tonight. The small are being made to fall while the big corporations are being saved, consolidated, and centralized. If you watch Princes of the Yen, you will see it was ever thus. That's how it works on this planet in that particular part of human affairs. It's never been any different, it would appear. Sue's me too. Not that I'm knocking what you're saying now. I completely agree, and I think it's a great injustice, and I think it's time for people to recognize that that's how it always seems to work, and perhaps stop putting their trust in the big governments and corporations. Go on, Vitor.
Yeah, I just want to add that the more I learn, the more I realize that one of the reasons, not the only one, of course, that usually happens, it has to do with knowledge. Because again, if we understand these things, if we start researching these things, we can see the writing on the walls much more easily, and we can be much more prepared so that when things like this happens, they may affect us, but they won't ruin us.
Mm-hmm.
Like a saying I've been saying lately that I'm really growing fond of is, you can't expect to put all your eggs in someone else's basket and be mad when they leave.
Well, yes, absolutely. But we kind of we grow up to be taught to do that, don't we? With
Yes.
our sort of paternal
And
belief
it
in the
is
paternalist.
profitable. It is profitable to keep people financially uneducated.
Yeah.
Like the other day, I found this new channel on YouTube. It's this guy. It's really funny because he has this like serious tone, and it's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And he takes real people in. They bring his like credit card statements and financial history and whatever, and he evaluates all of it, all of their expenses, what's going on, their income, and blah blah blah, how much debt they have, and then they tell them what they need to do. And I remember like there was this woman that you could see she didn't really know where she was going in life, but she was making like $4,000 or $6,000 a month or something. And the thing was, she had a ton of credit card debt, which had like a 15% interest.
Yeah.
But she also was investing through acorns in certain stocks. And the thing is, typically you expect like maybe 10%. That's like the average on the stock market of what you would earn for an investment. But with a credit card, you have a guaranteed negative investment of 15%. And he was trying to tell, hey, sell all of your stocks, pay off the credit card debt as much as you can. Oh, but what if it goes up in value? The credit cards are making you down in value.
They're sucking you dry. They are sucking you
But they
dry.
don't understand it, right? And this is what happens. If you are not financially literate, you're going to give them so much more money, so much more power, because you'll say, oh, but it's complicated. And so you just swipe your credit card again because it's easier. It's more comfortable to have small monthly payments instead of, paying up front or whatever. And I mean, I use some debt, but we know how much we earn, how much we can cover, and why we're taking on that debt. There's this thing called good debt and bad debt, and if it is something that can make you, make more money out of it, then it can be good. So like dining out can be profitable. If you go and get a takeout or something, you pay more for it, but the time you spent cooking and cleaning and doing the dishes and all of that, if you can instead use that time, to get a new client or get some business going, and you can make more income than that, and that becomes profitable. And it's not, in that case, it wouldn't be a bad idea to go out.
Bit like your golf membership, by the sound of it, Vitor. Okay,
Yeah.
we have our own financial literacy group, but for the sake of the theme this evening, I've put an extra tit in it. I called it the Financial Literacy Group, and that's the link for it there if you want to join. And we have a page on our website as well, because the wonderful John Heimbach, who's backstage with us this evening, gave us a beginner's guide to investing, which is also a video on our YouTube channel. So there are lots of people here with a little bit of interest from all different sorts of angles, and I think we can be helpful to each other. And we gather here on a Tuesday night and in this Facebook group here. Yes, credit cards are pure poison. Wow, don't use them at all. 15% automatic tax. Yeah, they don't tell you that, do they? And I don't suppose they have to. Maybe they do, and people don't even listen anyway. Yes, actually, they do say that. A lot of
But why do they care? It's like, instead of paying $500 or something, you can just pay, I don't know what, 60 or 70 per month for like 12 months or something,
rest of your life,
which is like 800 or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Have we read this one? Oh, yeah. That was someone who was 7,000 up on their crypto gains. And yeah, this unfair situation. And it would appear, doesn't it, that it's always the middle class who get hit, and that kind of breathes in and out, doesn't it, like a bell curve distribution.
So Grant Cardone, he actually says that the middle class is being crushed because they don't earn enough for it to really, or rather, they earn enough money that they don't qualify for government programs and assistance and all of that, but they don't quite make enough money where they can be super comfortable. And so they're being crushed from both sides. They're either becoming super wealthy or they're becoming poor.
Exactly. And that's where people are left less touched and affected. The super poor kind of just stay super poor. The recession, like that's the funny thing
it's
about
all self-fulfilling prophecies, in my opinion. Like, in many cases, and I see that in myself, because I've been through many stages of development, and I can see that in large part what happens, it's not that things happen to us, they happen because of us. And a lot of what we have today in life is a result of our consistent habits and activities and actions and why we do things. Like credit card is a good example, right? So many people are like, oh, I can't afford this right now, but I need it. So I'll use the card so I can, smaller chunks, and I can pay that off.
Yeah.
And then the next month, same thing. And then the next month, same thing. And then the next month, same thing. So ultimately, they're ending up having to pay 50% more for their lifestyle because they don't take a step back, reorganize things, and do it in a proper way, right? It is such a more complicated subject. It's very case by case, but I can see that in people all around me. Like, the more they're focused in scarcity and poverty and how there's not enough, and you need to save your money and conserve your money because money is a precious and finite resource. Rich people don't do that. They understand that money is like inherently worthless, not because you can't do anything with it right now, but because this stuff with the banks can happen. And like I've been studying a lot of millionaires and billionaires and whatever, and most of them, they do all they can to, whenever they have money, they're going to trade it for some kind of asset: real estate, gold, cryptocurrencies, anything that could give more value in the future, or at least hold that value, and not have it, in paper or in the bank or whatever, because they never know what could happen. And even if nothing happens, it's going down in value. Whereas people who struggle more with money, have more of this thing of saving, because it is a scary thing. It is a scary thing not to have money. And so there's a higher tendency to go overboard and saving it and conserving it. And, I've met people that have more money than even we do in their bank accounts, and they're scared of even, I don't know, investing in something that makes sense, or they put like 10 euros of gas every time they go to the gas station, and then they constantly have to go and refuel, go and refuel, go and refuel. And that takes time, and time is our most
Well,
precious resource.
I want to ask you something, because there is a lot of private debt in Portugal and consumer borrowing, isn't there? It does seem that Portuguese people are prone to racking up the private debt and using credit cards. Can you tell us a little bit about the Portuguese culture and mindset, an extension of what you're saying, really, about the Portuguese psyche around money and borrowing?
Right. When it comes to credit cards, I don't think I know many people who even use them, or at least they don't talk about them. But the Portuguese culture is very much go for the cheapest, save as much money as you can, right? Even if sometimes that means a few cents on something that, you know, it's night and day, like dishwasher, for example. So you can buy the off-brand dishwasher liquid thing. Yes, the dish soap, right? The dish soap. Like you cannot buy the off-brand thing that's like 99 cents, and it's pretty much a liquid, sloshes all around and everything, and it goes in a week, and it doesn't smell particularly good, and it lingers on the house, and it's uncomfortable and all of that. And you have to buy one of those every week, but it is 99 cents. Or you could buy, a more a better brand for like 3 euros. That's a thicker, more consistent thing, but that one lasts you for like 2 or 3 months,
Yeah.
right? But it's the culture to go for the cheapest thing.
The
And
pupi
again,
mais, the mais barato. Yes, I
exactly,
have noticed this. Yeah,
exactly.
fascinating. Another
And
thing
that's
about
what
the
I mean
culture,
by
then.
the habits reinforcing.
Yes,
Like when people are poor, their habits
poverty
reinforce.
consciousness.
They remain that way.
Yeah. What's with the scratch card obsession here in Portugal?
Again, the scarcity and poverty mindset. I used to work for a few months at a gas station. There was this lady every single week. She would come up, spend $20, 20 euros in scratch cards. If she just kept that money, put it aside every week, and then she would learn a little bit about how investing works or whatever. Maybe buy a book or two, maybe buy a course or two, right? Maybe she would end up with zero anyway because she would invest that money in herself. But, with the scratch cards, that happens anyway. And then she would be able to maybe, hey, here's an idea. I know a company in Barcelos that they make arcade machines with coin slots in them. You could invest in one of those. It's not like it's super difficult to find 800 euros to buy an arcade machine. Talk to some cafe or whatever that has a lot of people. Hey, man, let's do a partnership. I'll put my machine in here. At the end of each month, we'll split the profits 50-50. And then maybe you can make like 50 euros a month. I had a friend who did that. She made 50 euros a month with her cafe. That's 600 a year. That's almost 80% of your investment back.
Very
And
good.
then from there you start learning, and why are you gambling and playing your chances instead of having a guaranteed return on your money? It's financial illiteracy.
Darren, yeah, I think he's spot on of noticing that Portuguese people do love their, what are they called, the scratch cards? The raspar, aren't they?
Raspadinhas.
Raspardinhas is the name. Right, hold up. Don't interrupt me for a little bit longer, because we've got a lot. We've got a lot of comments to get through. Okay, whatever you're carrying, if you're carrying all that gold in your suitcase, be sure to declare it. Well, that's a matter for each individual to decide for themselves. Nivia is in. Suze, me too. I can't wait until my visit in June. I don't plan to work when I retire, but I'll keep my options open for all opportunities. That's an interesting thing as well, isn't it? Maybe it's best not to retire completely, because the way pensions are going, it might be worth having other irons in the fire. And again, our community, I think, will be available if people want to discuss other irons in the fire. In retirement, why not invest some money in the Portuguese culture, in Portuguese businesses, or try a little sideline as well as having your pension?
I recommend talking to Stephen.
All right, thank you. You couldn't resist, could you? There, the price of gold is a tautology. Fiat currency has a price in gold, not vice versa. Oh, only money is gold, and crypto has no inherent value attributable solely to its nominal scarcity. Looks like Ancient Mariner knows a thing or two about what we're talking about tonight. Most things are rare. My good ideas, for instance, that may give them a price, but it does not give them a value. He does know what he's talking about, it would seem. I'm tracking currency rates daily today. €1 costs 1.47 Canadian. What are they called? Loonies, are they? Not a day to buy, but don't forget to open a Spartan FX currency account when you do, Suze. Thank you very much. Actually, there is a case study. Look at this in running towards a fire as being the only rational strategy. Reference the Kaperun funicular train disaster in Austria. There's always a case study somewhere to prove exactly what you want to say, right? That was a metaphor about 750,000 to carry the same amount of, for example, silver. You would need a truck. Do you realize that gold is actually traded into bank as a currency with the symbol XAU? I have seen that. Okay, thank you very much for that, Ancient Mariner. Yes, the credit cards are poison. Talking of takeouts, Darren, give us the name of the pizza or the Porto pizza restaurant that should be avoided. Ordered a takeout pizza. So bad, couldn't eat it. Had to go to the shop for another one. Yikes. Sounds awful. Of course, you can use credit cards, Vitor, productively. Just make sure you repay the balance. Yeah, play them rather than them having play you, right? 56-day interest-free period, unsuitable for funding long-term or speculative assets. People have done, of course. There's always exceptions to the rule, but we get the general point, don't we? Look at this. We're being treated now to the 10 habits of successful multi-billionaires. Buy a yacht, number 1. 2, give up work, go on holiday, etc., etc. This tells us nothing about how to improve our own more mundane lives. Speak for yourself, Ancient Mariner. Live within your means is the key message, I think, from the Ancient Mariner there.
Doesn't sound like anybody I know.
But that would be a one habit of a successful person: live within your means. It's hard to avoid that one, isn't it? Throw in a good war, says Facebook user, and further supply chain deterioration, food, lumber, farmland, barrels of petrol will be the new gold, or we wean ourselves off. You can check your demand as well as fight for supply, can you not? Charles Dickens, David Copperfield, annual income £20, annual expenditure 19 and 6, result happiness. Annual income £20, annual expenditure £20, ought and 6, result misery. There, Dickens had it in David Copperfield. Suze says, I went to a new cafe here just for coffee. Look, now here's another thing. They wouldn't accept cash. How do we feel about this? That's illegal, but perhaps the way it's headed. Others feel the same way. That is the way it's headed. And all of this is a bit of a ruse with failing confidence in banks to make a really safe one world digital currency. Wouldn't that be convenient and secure for everybody? There's an app called Chip, says Darren. I like it. Puts away small amounts of money every week into savings. When you go to check it after a few months, it builds up a lot. Yeah, Revolut have that as well, don't they? They have little savings pots that shave off your spending. You barely see it disappearing. And you're right, Darren, you see it growing when you go back. Are there any complications with working remotely in Portugal for a US business? I can safely say yes. There's got to be, haven't there? Working remotely in Portugal for a US business, there will be some complications, as in there will be things you haven't thought of that you probably should think about. Can you think of any yourself, Vitor?
I guess it depends on like who you work for and all of these things, how taxes work. It's something that I've been trying to talk to some accountants about as well, because I know many people in the US, and then if like one of them wants to send me a client or whatever and me pay them like a referral fee, how that would work, how taxes would work, and in some cases there can be like tax exemptions. Better to talk to an accountant that understands the matter, I would say, and then you will still probably find something to bump your head against. I'm sure there will be ways to go around it, but I'm not sure exactly everything that could happen with it.
Expect complications would be my advice, and that is the subject
of life.
Yeah, it is life, and it's certainly when you change culture, when you switch culture, you will be coming up against cultural adjustments, some of which you need to allow for in the business plan as well, and actually pay some extra money, either in professional services or in fines for transgressions you didn't know anything about that you subsequently have to pay for. I'll just have a quick moan then. This is my article. Portugal, great place to live, a horrible place to run a business. We'll come back to your comments, and thank you so much for them. Here it is then. I'll read through it very quickly. 5 accountants later, hundreds of euros in fines, and near ready to quit. I'm calling out Portugal as a country that sucks when it comes to running a business. Do you know what? I'm not going to put you through me reading this. I'm just going to go to the end. It's got some lovely pictures, hasn't it? Oh, well, look, John Hyman's video there. It's got pictures of the lovely Finanças portal. When you see that there, Vitor, how do you feel?
I usually tell my accountant to take care of that, but yeah, I should learn it.
Okay, good plan. And I'll scroll back up to give you my final bullet points. Oh, the one on the right there are the PDFs that are downloadable from the Finanças portal, showing the listas de devedores. What are they, Vitor? The debtors, right?
The what?
The government debtors. And they are named and shamed on the government website there, if you want to look to see if you're on there, if in case you hadn't noticed. So my few tips to leave you with, if you are in a business or thinking of starting an enterprise here in Portugal. Number one, factor in additional and unforeseen costs, such as fines, higher than average accountancy fees, and other plot twist running costs. Do not procrastinate or delay with any business governance. Grasp those nettles sooner rather than later. Open and deal with those envelopes from Finanças. Those Finanças envelopes are keeping CTT going. I'm quite sure of that. Make sure you deal with them. If you don't understand them, get them to a professional who does understand them and can take action on them. Your fines will mount up if you don't. Do not assume Portugal operates like your country of origin. There's the answer for you, Chris, and lovely to see you here. Get professional help, and remember, you get what you pay for. Do not hire a cheap accountant. You will get what you pay for. Network with other business owners like you're doing here tonight. Share good professionals and learn and grow together. And watch our Portugal Business Club show every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Portugal time. That's what we're doing. And you can read the rest of that. I'll put the link to it in the chat if that's of interest to you, rather than boring you or with the monotonous reading of an online blog there, which you can see for yourself on the goodmorningportugal.com website. Thank you very much for your tolerance there with that. But I would say it's not an easy place to run a business. And I think I don't know. I mean, maybe it would be difficult for you. You don't have a comparison really, Vitor, do you, to another country? But what do you and what do other Portuguese people think generally? Is this an enterprise culture? Is this a culture in which enterprising people are rewarded and treasured and supported by the government?
So the way it seems like it is that it's a very anti-business country or whatever, because of very heavy taxes and requirements and all of these things. But from my perspective, it's like, I don't really care, because I'm going to do my own thing anyway. If I have to swim against the current, then I guess I need to develop my muscles and swimming technique or whatever to get up it. But I mean, I really do believe that if you put enough effort, you can succeed in whatever environment you're on.
Yes,
that's the biggest summary I have. Now, in terms of all the technicalities and whatever, I mean, the accountant we have now is just fantastic.
Gold dust.
Working with her, she connected us with the team. We got the emails. She already created this digital CTT, which is the mailbox for business correspondent or whatever that we can access online that we didn't even know existed. They sorted all of that up. They have everything organized in folders. If you're dealing with your account manager or whatever you want to call it, and then one day they're on holidays or on sick leave or whatever, and you call the office, within seconds they can find your folder with the document that you want, because they have everything organized. I just don't know.
What are you talking about there? A bank account?
No, my accountant.
Oh, your accountant. Okay, sorry. I thought you were talking about...
And she does speak very good English too. And she's always learning and really passionate about accounting. So I don't know if you work with an accountant already, but if not, I can talk to her to be here.
I do. I found one. Yeah, my fifth one seems to be pretty good so far.
Oh, okay. No problem.
These recommendations are gold dust. So feel free to make them and shop around. Find the right one that works for you, because it's a chemistry. It's not a simple matter. It's not a simple admin matter. They need to understand your needs. You need to be able to articulate your needs, and they need to be able to understand them. Assumptions can cost heavily. in this country. Sure, that's one of my beefs there. Okay, yes, financial literacy is costly. Oh, financial illiteracy is costly indeed. Putting it the other way around. And we like that recommendation. The app called Chip, that's also available within Revolut. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for being here and for your question. I was forced into early retirement due to bad health, says Suze, but I never really stopped working or volunteering. I think that's going to be the shape of life to come for many people, right? Au contraire, crypto technology is the foundation of the technology of the entire world, more every day. It is, who is this? It is the infrastructure of the future financial Web3, AI, VR, media world, like owning a piece of the internet in 1995. Are they referring to the blockchain? Whoa, bless you, Santinus. Are they referring to the blockchain there, possibly, Vitor?
Maybe.
You were busy sneezing, weren't you? Having the D7 visa be very helpful in finding employment? Not in its own right, and it doesn't mean you can't work if you've come on the so-called retirement visa, which some people refer to the D7 as. Go on.
I can give one suggestion though, and also from kind of a bit of a personal experience because we've been having people to ask to work for us. The best way to get the job is to show the other person how you can be of value to them. Yes. Because if you send an application and essentially the reason for you applying is you want a job and you want a salary, I mean, would you hire someone like that?
In Portugal, it costs a lot of money to hire people as well.
Yes.
Eye-watering amounts to take on staff.
Yes. For you to get minimum wage, the company will be spending at least 310 euros more.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the rest over 1,000 for you to get minimum wage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think unless they're well funded, a sort of a small business is very unlikely to employ you unless you can bring a lot of value to their business. So that's Mike. I think networking. I think that's probably what you're saying, Vitor, right? Show people what value you can offer. Start conversations about the value you'll be bringing to Portugal, and then naturally people will find a way of working with you. And it might not be a job specifically, but it could certainly be a consultancy basis, and you could set yourself up.
Look for opportunities. Look for opportunities. And I can say this too. I haven't met any successful person where if you can show how you can give them value, even if they don't have an open position, that they wouldn't find a way to work with you. Like even do a commission-based thing. Like, hey man, let me help you out for like a week or 2 weeks or wherever. Let me show to you what you can do. You don't even have to pay me. Don't worry about me. And then you show them value, and then you do a partnership with them. Or like, hey, how about this? I'll do this for you. I'll do blah, 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 blah. If you get the sale, I got the cut from your upside.
And you can do that on the country's green receipt system where you're set up as a self-employed person and you just send them an invoice for that commission. Be careful though, you might have to
12,000.
Yeah, you might have to pay tax above a certain amount, which you would hope to do because you want to be earning the big amounts. Beach sand might be the new gold. Cement is in such great demand that people are stealing sand to make money. Seriously. Mike says it's illegal to remove sand from my beach here in Florida, so you may be onto something here. What a world we live in. I do see people reversing their vehicles onto the beach here in San Martino de Porto and helping themselves to the sand. Long may it continue if they are in balance and cooperation with nature. Sand smuggling, my new job. Not really. She's only joking. Look where the big money is rapidly transitioning into. Blockchain technology is the near future. I mean, when you watch, there's a documentary. I can't remember the guy's name, but a fantastic blockchain documentary, which takes all the hype and nonsense out, that you feel like you're being sold some sort of Ponzi scheme. The blockchain concept, idea, and what it can offer humanity is beautiful. So I'd agree with you, Facebook user. It's the near future. Crypto is like owning 1 million shares of Microsoft when Gates was working out of his garage still. Look what happened to him, though. He became a medical expert, didn't he? David Durham. I run a US LLC, self-employed, filing as an S-Corp and live in Portugal at Chris. So it might be that David can help you out with that, Chris. And what else have we got here? Beware ESGs, by the way, poison to investing. What is the ESG? That's a framework, is it not? That seems to be associated with the WEF and those seeking to run the world. Am I right there, Facebook user? Do you just pay taxes or do you pay some to Portugal as well? Asked Chris Smith. Get a room, you two. It's complicated, but Portugal has something called NHL, which I qualify for, and I'm told will mean I have 0% income tax in Portugal. I believe I still have to pay some social security eventually. There will always be a little bit of doubt. That's why you need the professionals. But we're moving in the right direction there, which is fantastic. Thank you, David, for helping Chris out there. Mike, it is happening as some countries are building land into the ocean to put more buildings, and Saharan sand is wrong consistency to make cement. So sand. So people are selling sand to the Arabs then, is that right? Be ice to the Eskimos next. A cost of running a business here does seem scary, excessive, but true, of course. One can succeed here, yeah. And that's a really important balance to bring. And yeah, you want to be super successful and take those running costs in your stride. But also you want to enjoy life and not be down Finanças every 10 minutes as well. So there's a balance to be struck. Vitor, please share her info. I could use a good English-speaking accountant. So do put it on the screen. I have one as well. If anyone wants to PM me, feel free to do that, Vitor. I've got no, I don't think generally speaking it's good to be in exclusives that sort of, factor out good opportunities for people, because certainly with accountancy, it's about finding the right one for you. Portugal taxes, says Chris, have a negative impact on entrepreneurship in the country. I think that's a fair comment, and hopefully that will change. And David, saying back to you, people here are not happy about the taxes and also not happy about the politicians. Yeah, not happy about the politicians. So as ever thus, it would seem, and that is probably the plight of the masses, is it not? But don't be one of the masses, I guess, is one of the sad facts of life, isn't it? Because I don't think those politicians are going to be changing anytime soon, and nor are their taxes, are they, Vitor?
Yeah, it doesn't look like it, because again, I feel like it has to do a bit with financial illiteracy. Because people, when people vote in politics, they're trying to appeal to their own self-interest, right? And it's a lot easier for you to win as a politician if you promise that people that you'll give them free stuff, than if you say, hey, I'm going to do what will put the country forward, and it will take effort from everybody's part. Like, no, I don't want effort. I want free stuff. And so what happens is, due to also, in my opinion, that scarcity and poverty mindset, it's easy for someone to be like, hey, other people have more money than we do, so they should pay more taxes. Let's vote for them to pay more taxes. And so they vote for the rich people to pay more taxes, which what then happens is everybody knows that the rich have like thousands of ways of not paying taxes legally. Call it loopholes, call it whatever you want, but there are many, many ways where they can not pay taxes, right?
And let me say at this point, it's illegal for an accountant to advise their client to do that. It is actually illegal in this country for accountants to advise their clients how to save tax and not pay it to the government. Yes.
So again, that's not to say it has to do with financial literacy.
Yes.
And if you learn more, you can learn these things, and everybody can do it. It doesn't, like, you don't have to be a millionaire or whatever to learn about these things and to use them to your advantage. But most people don't, and they don't want to bother. But what happens is, they pass these laws, and maybe the government has like, okay, we have all of these millionaires, they're going to have to start paying more in taxes. And then maybe they have higher budgets, and then the millionaires don't pay those taxes because they know how not to do that legally.
And on it goes. Again, it's another historical rhyme, isn't it? 'Twas ever thus. This is just a tired old trope playing itself out politically and economically. And again, like, don't be one of the herd. Be you, and see what value you can create and bring and realize here in Portugal. Because we are going to answer this question in the last 5 minutes, Vitor. Is Portugal a good bet amid growing global uncertainty? I think so. I'll give you my reasons why in just a moment. But I'd love to hear your answer and the answers of people. Let's just, the answers of people in the chat here. Do you think Portugal is a good bet amid growing global uncertainty? Vitor's accountant, we've got the details there. They are in the chat officially. Are we all being practical? Probably not sometimes, to be fair, Suze. What about making a dream come true, as in starting a business in a new land? It's romantic. And I still have good intentions and great intentions with that. I think it's a wonderful thing, and it's important to be practical about it. But it's also important to be a big dreamer, I think, with this, because it is a big dream, and you have to factor in some costs and learn the hard way sometimes. But keep going. Environment, social governance, ESG in managing big business investment, and to heck with shareholders and profitability. The big Silicon Valley Bank collapse yesterday was heavy into ESG investing. Interesting. What a financially literate and aware team we've had working with us tonight, Vitor. Agreed, Suze, about are we all being practical? I'm not sure what you mean there, Ancient Mariner, but really value your input tonight. And you also said some people do not share your enthusiasm for crypto, for example, Bitcoin, etc., to a Facebook user. There is a healthy discussion to be had on this topic. Let's have it, shall we? One Tuesday evening. Who wants to have that conversation? Be here and have that right here. This is a great environment for it. I'd love to be part of that. I searched online. Cost of living in Lisbon is 58% less than living in Vancouver, and I do not plan to live in Lisbon. So that sounds like some saving for you there. Vitor, is Portugal a good bet amid growing global uncertainty? What would you say?
Depends on the person. There's opportunity everywhere, as long as you know what you need to do and you're willing to do what it takes. Any place can be a great opportunity. Like you have, like, even Nigeria and Pakistan or whatever, which are considered the poorest countries in the world, or I don't even know. There are millionaires from there, like, and from all the other countries, and many of them invest here in Portugal. I haven't dealt with any of them yet, but I know that there are. It's like, if you believe you can do it, if you have a big goal and then you know you can achieve it, then your whole life becomes basically finding the steps you need to take to get there. And eventually you will.
Yeah.
Or you will then keep increasing and changing your goal. And I think the biggest thing that stops people in their tracks is themselves, because they start rationalizing why they can't do it. Oh, it's too difficult, it's too this. And then, things start getting hard. Yeah, see, I knew it because I knew the taxes would be bad or this or that and blah, blah, blah. And it's going to blah, da, 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 right? So it's, you can succeed anywhere. You can fail everywhere. I mean, failure is part of success, but it's all up to, I think it's all up to the individual, and it depends on what they want to do, because there are many untapped potentials here in Portugal. There are maybe a lot of expertise or kinds of businesses or services that we desperately need here and that we don't have it. And anybody who comes here and starts that business will be very successful. And there are things like, if you just want to open a company, just to open a store, and you just expect to make money, it's like, okay, but what value are you adding? I know we don't have a lot of time, but one of these days, Maria showed me, hey, there was this new stationery store that opened up close to our house, and they posted on Facebook. Their picture was literally, one of the walls, the corner. All you could see was like rows and rows and rows of scratch cards. Another tall shelf of, smoking stuff, nicotine and cigarette and blah, blah,
Yes.
blah.
The
And it's
essentials.
like, why? What value is this adding?
Yes.
It's like, hey, I want to open my own business. I'm going to put the same garbage everybody else is offering just so I can make a quick buck.
There are opportunities, then. I think Vitor is saying there are opportunities, and don't be this guy, basically, and put a stick in your own spokes, and then come off the bike and try and blame someone else. That's some tough talk from Vitor. Simply, I would say yes, it's still a good bet amid growing global uncertainty. It's all relative. I think we are in for some spicy times, and it does feel like it's getting a bit jittery at the moment, with SVB and other bank runs and uncertainties and closures. And tonight's conversation has been very fascinating. That these are things that I would have talked about in very cloaked and masked environments some years ago. It's out in the open. People are talking about this sort of stuff, because I think we are heading into some spicy times, and people are interested in talking about it, and we all need each other in that regard. For me, and picking up on what you were saying, Suze, 58% less expensive than Vancouver is Lisbon. Lisbon and Porto and the coast arguably are the most expensive places to live in Portugal. There's still all of the interior, where I think that other great treasure exists, which is land and the space to grow food. I think becoming a farmer is quite a useful and well, an excellent key skill to develop alongside your Bitcoin and gold investments, possibly. Okay, there's a cafe near me. Final comments, and it only sells sweet products, nothing savory apart from beer. I was shocked. Welcome. Maybe coming to retire, but would be great to give back and provide community assistance. I can't imagine you, Simon, being any kind of slacker or loafer. I imagine you will be giving back and getting involved in all sorts of wonderful projects with community assistance through sharing the skills we already possess. I want to learn how to make a biodigester with you, or help those who need it with tools and equipment. Exactly. The ones providing the tools for the miners became rich during the Alaskan gold rush. Fill a need equals succeed. Your co-host is correct. Got to run, says Suze. Got my errands done. Get to be back in time for the next show. What time will that be? Tomorrow morning, Suze. Unless you join the Portugal Club, which is what we'll be doing after this. It's a closed session of the Portugal Club, and we'll see you in the morning, Suze. So sleep well. Thank you, everybody, for being here this evening. Yes, opportunity everywhere depends on us. Hard work, literacy, realistic goals, belief in oneself, a mission, filling a specific need, etc. And finally, from the Ancient Mariner, financial literacy begins in primary school. My mum always taught me that there are only 3 types of people in this world: those who can do basic arithmetic, and those who can't. Like a financial literacy dad joke there. Amazing. Vitor, you've been amazing. Let's play that jingle one more time, encouraging people to open up a Spartan FX currency exchange account. And we'll be right back in the private session of the Portugal Club in just a moment. That's not it. That's just that's what's cool in the north. You can see on your
screen. On purpose every time.
Say that again.
Do you do this on purpose every time?
No, but I think I'll have to now to make it look like I really meant to, like I was a jazz musician. Okay, goodbye.